She had always been proud of her engagement ring, a delicate sparkle she believed reflected her love. But when her sister whispered that it was fake, Olivia's world tilted on its axis. That one cruel comment ignited a plan she never imagined, one that would lead her straight into the center of her sister's wedding, and an unexpected revelation that would change everything. Hello, my friends. I am Olivia, and this is Olivia's Love Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I never imagined that something as small as a ring could carry so much weight. Every morning, I'd slide it onto my finger, and it felt like a tiny talisman, a promise that my life was finally aligning with the dreams I had quietly held onto for years. The ring wasn't flashy, it was elegant, understated, and utterly mine. And yet, when my sister, my own blood, looked me in the eye and called it fake, something inside me cracked. I had always loved my sister, but there were cracks in our relationship that ran deep, mostly invisible to the world. She thrived on appearances, on subtle displays of superiority that made even family gatherings feel like competitions. And that comment, that single word, felt like an invisible slap across my heart. Was my life, my love, so easily mocked? I remember the sting clearly, the way my hand trembled when I touched the ring. I'd never felt such a mix of anger, hurt, and defiance before. I knew I could have brushed it off, pretended I didn't hear her, but the truth was I couldn't. I needed her to see, to understand, even if it meant stepping into a situation I wasn't prepared for. Life, as usual, went on. My fiancé, Daniel, was calm and patient, always the grounding force in my stormy mind. He had that rare ability to make me feel both protected and completely understood, even when my insecurities bubbled to the surface. "Don't let her words bother you," he'd said, squeezing my hand during our quiet evenings at home. "What matters is what we know, what we share." And I knew he was right, but pride, stubbornness, and a little mischief were whispering louder than reason. Then came the invitation. My sister was getting married, and the venue was the same grand hall where countless family memories had been made. As I stared at the envelope, my mind raced with possibilities. The insult, the ring, couldn't go unanswered. Not with Daniel by my side, not with the memories of every small rivalry we had endured. I made a decision that night. It was reckless, maybe even childish, but it felt like the only way to reclaim some dignity. I would wear the ring to her wedding. Not just wear it, I would wear it boldly, openly, as a quiet testament to what was real, to the love and life Daniel and I had built together. And if anyone dared question it, well, they would have to answer to the truth. The day arrived with the golden light of late afternoon spilling through the cathedral windows. The organ swelled to a crescendo as guests settled into their seats. My heart pounded, not with joy, but with a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. I adjusted my dress, took a deep breath, and let my eyes drift toward the back of the room. And then I saw her, my sister, radiant in white, smiling at a sea of faces who adored her. My pulse quickened. I lifted my hand subtly, letting the sunlight catch the ring. It glinted in a way that was almost defiant, almost challenging. And as the crowd hushed, as the first notes of the ceremony began, Daniel leaned close, whispering, "Are you ready?" I swallowed hard, and just as I was about to answer, the jeweler's voice, loud, certain, and utterly unexpected, cut through the air. "Madam, this isn't what you think it is." The words hung in the air like a sudden storm. I froze, my hand still raised just enough for the sunlight to catch the ring's surface. "This isn't what you think it is," the jeweler repeated, stepping closer through the aisle, his eyes wide with something between astonishment and awe. Every guest seemed to lean forward instinctively, as if the silence itself were contagious. I felt Daniel's hand tighten around mine, grounding me in the midst of my spiraling thoughts. "What do you mean?" I whispered, though my voice trembled more than I wanted. My sister, oblivious, was exchanging vows at the altar, her smile blissful and unaware, while I stood in a tempest of anticipation and dread. The jeweler crouched slightly, inspecting the ring as if it were a rare bird, delicate and impossible to miss. This is not just any ring," he said finally. His voice carried through the hushed hall, crisp and undeniable. "This is an extremely rare vintage piece, worth far more than most people could imagine. Whoever gave this to you, they didn't just buy a ring, they invested in history, in legacy. And the craftsmanship." His gaze softened, almost reverent, lingering on the way the light danced across the gem. My stomach dropped. I glanced at Daniel, whose expression had shifted from calm to stunned admiration. His lips curved into the faintest smile, like he had been waiting for this moment quietly, knowing something I had only begun to grasp. My mind raced. Was this the vindication I had been craving? The proof that my love and the ring were never something to be mocked? I felt the whisper of gasps ripple through the crowd. My sister, mid-vow, turned ever so slightly, sensing the shift in the air. Her eyes landed on me, sharp and questioning. "Olivia, what—" Her voice faltered as she caught sight of the ring glinting like a beacon in my hand. I stepped forward, the confidence I hadn't realized I possessed until that moment rising like a tide. "Do you see this?" I said, letting the words carry just enough strength to cut through the murmurs. "This ring, it's real. And more than that, it's priceless, not just in money, but in what it represents." My voice shook slightly, but I forced it steady, my chest tight with anticipation. The jeweler smiled faintly, handing the ring back to me with care, as if returning a sacred object to its rightful place. "It's authentic," he said again, softer this time, almost to himself. "And it's extraordinary." My sister's jaw tightened. I could see the calculation in her eyes, the disbelief, the envy, the realization that this wasn't just a simple family feud anymore. I had anticipated this moment, yes, but seeing her unravel, watching the balance of power shift silently in front of everyone, it was more intoxicating than I imagined. Daniel leaned close to me, whispering with a quiet intensity I could feel straight in my bones. "You were never wrong, Olivia. You just needed everyone else to see it." And then, just as the organ swelled and the guests murmured in a mixture of awe and confusion, my sister finally spoke, her voice tight but brittle. Where did you get that ring?" I took a breath, letting the silence stretch just long enough to make the moment mine. And in that heartbeat, I knew this wedding, this ring, and this revelation would change everything forever. The question hung in the air like a guillotine waiting to fall. My sister's eyes were sharp, scanning me as if she could see through my skin, my thoughts, my very soul. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks, not from shame, but from the thrill of finally being seen, finally validated. I began, my voice steady despite the adrenaline thrumming in my veins. "I didn't get it anywhere ordinary. Daniel gave it to me." I let the words linger, tasting the shock as it hit my sister like a physical blow. She blinked, her carefully constructed composure faltering for the first time that day. "You? He?" Her voice trembled, a mix of disbelief and incredulity. That was your fiancé?" I nodded, letting the ring catch the light again, dazzling in a way that seemed almost purposeful. Yes, and it's real. More than that, it's extraordinary, just like him, just like what we have together. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a river of whispers that filled every corner of the cathedral. I could feel the weight of every gaze on me, on the ring, on the invisible chasm that had opened between my sister and me. She looked around, perhaps realizing how much she had underestimated both Daniel and me. You always flaunt things like this, she spat finally, the words sharp but not quite reaching me. Pretending to be better, pretending. Her voice cracked, trailing off as she realized there was no pretending here. I wasn't showing off. I wasn't seeking her approval. I was simply standing in the truth of my life, and she couldn't deny it. Daniel's hand found mine again, his fingers curling protectively around mine. "She called your ring fake," he said quietly, almost for me alone, though I knew the words would sting if my sister heard. "But it's not fake, and neither are you. You've been patient, kind, and steadfast. She just tried to tear you down." I swallowed hard, the mixture of vindication and lingering hurt twisting in my chest. My sister's mouth opened, probably to launch another accusation, but before she could, the jeweler spoke again. "If you'll allow me," he stepped closer, producing a small, embossed certificate from a leather folder. The gold lettering glinted as he handed it to me. "This confirms everything I've said. The ring is authentic, vintage, rare, truly one of a kind." I held the certificate delicately, almost reverently. The organs swelled behind me, and in that moment, I realized how much power had shifted, not because of wealth, not because of pride, but because truth had a way of revealing itself when you least expected it. My sister's face twisted with something between anger and awe. I felt a strange pang, not triumph exactly, but relief. She had doubted me, yes. She had tried to diminish what I had, but now she could see, and I didn't need her approval anymore. Daniel leaned closer, his breath warm against my ear. "Ready to leave this drama behind?" he whispered. I nodded, a smile breaking across my face. But just as we began to turn away, my sister's voice stopped me cold. "Olivia," she said, soft this time, almost unsteady. I need to know." Her pause stretched, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. The look in her eyes wasn't just curiosity, it was fear. And for the first time, I realized that the secret behind the ring, the one that Daniel and I had kept quietly, wasn't just going to change her perspective. It might change everything about our family. And then, in the hush that followed, I heard it, the first subtle whisper of a truth no one had expected, one that would unravel more than just a wedding day confrontation. The hush in the cathedral was almost unbearable. My sister's eyes were locked on me, searching, pleading, and for the first time, I felt the weight of the family history, the rivalries, the jealousies, the unspoken comparisons, all of it pressing down in a single heartbeat. "I need to know," she whispered again, this time softer, almost trembling. Where did Daniel get it? How is it possible?" I took a slow breath, feeling Daniel's hand steady mine. His presence reminded me that this wasn't just about proving her wrong. It was about honoring the life we had built together, a life rooted in trust, love, and authenticity. I squared my shoulders and met her gaze. "It's a family heirloom," I said quietly. "Daniel's family. They've preserved pieces of history for generations. This ring, it belonged to his grandmother. It's been passed down carefully, protected, until it became mine. It's real, valuable, yes, but it's more than that. It carries meaning, love, and trust, just like our relationship. Her mouth opened, then closed, then trembled again. I saw her mind racing, trying to reconcile her assumptions with the undeniable truth before her. She had spent so long measuring herself against me, against the life I had, the love I shared, and now the scales had fallen away. The organ swelled, and I realized how the music mirrored the tension and release inside me. Guests were leaning forward, some with sympathetic smiles, others wide-eyed in shock. Daniel whispered in my ear, a soft laugh escaping him. See, the ring wasn't fake, and neither are we. I couldn't help but smile back, a genuine, relieved smile. No, we're not, I murmured, feeling a warmth spread through me that had nothing to do with victory. It had everything to do with truth. Finally, my sister exhaled, a shaky, defeated sound. I, I'm sorry, Olivia. I should never have doubted you. Or this, she said, nodding toward the ring. Her voice cracked, but it was sincere, and for a moment I saw her vulnerability, her humanity, and the weight she had been carrying in her own insecurities. I nodded, letting her apology wash over me. Thank you, I said softly. That means a lot, and I hope we can move forward. Not just today, but everything after this. Daniel squeezed my hand, and I felt the solid reassurance of his presence. I glanced down at the ring, sunlight catching every facet, reminding me that sometimes the smallest objects carry the heaviest truths. My sister watched me, her eyes no longer sharp but reflective, almost reverent. As the ceremony continued, I realized something profound. The ring had started as a symbol of love and commitment, but in that cathedral, under the gaze of everyone we knew, it became a symbol of resilience, of integrity, of standing firm in the face of doubt. And in that moment, I understood that my need to be seen, to be believed, wasn't about winning an argument or proving superiority. It was about embracing my own worth and allowing others to witness it, whether they understood immediately or not. When the ceremony ended and the guests began to applaud, I felt Daniel pull me close, whispering, "You've always been priceless." And for the first time that day, I didn't feel the need to defend myself, my love, or my choices. The ring glittered, the truth shone, and finally, everything was exactly as it should be.